participant and stuff that's here. We just really want to make sure that you guys are actually getting the availability of the contact or the content. One of the things I do want to say is thank you for a great 2 years. Didn't realize until yesterday when Wafa and I were talking that we've actually been doing this for 2 years. We've grown to 630 plus members. For us, that was not an expected outcome, really, and everything when we first started. We just wanted to kind of get something out to help the community. Hopefully, you guys are finding the content helpful. And if you do have recommendations on content that you would like to see around Microsoft security, please let us know that. We're always taking suggestions. We're always looking for people that maybe out in the environment that would love to speak as well. So if you have interest and you've joined today and you want to actually become a member of the Defender user group, or as we love to call it, Doug, please take a look at the QR code on the screen, take and scan it with your little phones, smart devices, and join us for exciting new content, releases that we're going to actually have coming up as well. And then if you're new here and you're kind of trying to figure out what this is about, and you maybe got invited by somebody else, we're basically just a group of people that like Microsoft security. We're trying to help leverage the knowledge that we have not only within the group, but from those resources that we have around the globe that have knowledge within the Microsoft community and stuff itself to help you actually understand how to fully utilize the Microsoft security stack, how to get the most benefit from it, and then hopefully answer some questions that you had no idea that the product could actually do. If you do want to contact us for any reason, please reach out to us through the email that's on your screen. This is an email that goes directly to us to give feedback, request sessions, just request topics, things like that. And then if you want some extra information as far as something that you can sit and listen to in your leisure, I know that we all have things that we're constantly focusing on a computer screen. We don't always have time for video or anything like that, but we do have the ability to listen to some audio. Look at the Defend Your Time podcast. These are very short snippets of information, whether it be about licensing, the Sentinel data lake, or other pieces that have actually come up. There's a bunch of different topics that's actually out there under Defend Your Time. Please check it out, and everything, scan the QR code if you have a chance to actually do so. And without further ado, I want to actually introduce our speaker. His name is Elie. He's one of the Microsoft security MVPs. He's going to bring us a great topic today around Defender for Identity and a couple other things. So if you do want to reach out to Elie directly, this is his QR code for his LinkedIn post. Elie, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Daniel. Allow me to share my screen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whenever you are joining us for the session. And thank you all for being here. My name is Elie Karkafi. I'm a senior solution architect and a security MVP. And in our today's session, we will be discussing how to expand Defender for Identity coverage to Entra Connect. Before we deep dive into the topic, I would like to take a moment to introduce my company, which is MPO Solutions. So basically, MPO Solutions, it's an American company headquartered in Dallas, Texas. And we are a technology consulting firm established in 2012 by a team of seasoned professionals, including former Microsoft architects. And our mission is to help the organization to get most out of their technology investment by streamlining software environment and boosting operational efficiency. We are a solution partner in security with Microsoft, Modern Work, Azure Infrastructure, and Data and AI, Azure as well. Feel free to scan the QR code to visit our website. If you have any questions or inquiries, you have all the details in the slides. Also, quick bio about me. So as Daniel introduced me, and thank you, Daniel, I'm a Microsoft Security MVP in security. Also, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I hold 26 certifications from Microsoft covering all the security stack, modern work, Azure and Windows Server and on-premises AD Active Directory. Also, I have 14 years of experience across the whole security stack with Microsoft, and my currently position is Senior Solution Architect at MPU Solution. As well, I'm a contributor and a design partner in the Microsoft Customer Connection Program. And feel free to scan the QR code if you would like to contact me on LinkedIn or to check my MVP profile. So our agenda for today is we will make a quick introduction on what is Entra Connect and also why it is important to protect the hybrid identities. And also we will check what are the newest detection from Microsoft Defender for Identity and what are the recommendation and the posture recommendation that allow you to increase your hybrid identity security posture using MDI. And we will close out by the audience question and others feedbacks. So before I start, there is a poll that Daniel will launch to check how much you are familiar with Defender for Identity. So Daniel will launch the first poll, and I will start by talking about the Entra Connect in the first slide. So I think most of you are familiar with is Entra Connect. So Entra Connect is a Microsoft application that integrates with the on-premises Active Directory and with Microsoft Entra ID seamlessly. And to simplify the introduction, Entra Connect facilitates the identity and hybrid identity setups, allow the organization to manage both cloud and on-premises resources at the same time using the same password. And you know, in Entra Connect, it's not just syncing the password of the identity, but it also contains other features that you can benefit from, such as hybrid join devices, hybrid deployment in case you have any Exchange hybrid deployment, and also in case you want to sync some custom attribute for your business from Active Directory to Entra ID. So basically, when you do the setup for Entra Connect on the server and inside your Active Directory environment, and whether you are using a custom installation or an express settings installation, there are 3 service accounts that will get created automatically in your environment. The first one is AD/DS Connect account, which is usually be used to read and write to Windows Server Active Directory. The second service account is AD Sync service account, which is used to run the synchronization service and also to read-write the data to the SQL database, because Entra Connect has its own database when you install it. You can install the SQL Express directly on the server, or you can target any SQL Server instance that you have in your environment for that purpose. Also, you have the Entra ID Connect account, which is used for ongoing synchronization with Azure. To deep dive a little bit on each account, so basically the first account, which is called AD/DS Connector account, if you jump onto your user and computer's account in Active Directory, you will notice that you have an account with a prefix that starts with ms_SQL. And that account got created when you are installing the Entra Connect tool. And that account is used to read-write information to your Windows Active Directory environment. This account has no permission at all to your Entra ID, but only have privileges to write back attributes and password to your on-premises ID. Till now, until today, that account cannot be used as a group managed service account, so you need to manage it and protect it separately by resetting the password and make sure that this account is secure. The second account, which is called AD Sync service account, and in the real environment, once you install the Entra Connect tool and you open the services on that server, you will notice that the Microsoft Azure AD Sync run with a NAT service that is called AD Sync. And that service account has also access to databases and to storing Active Directory information. Also, that account has no direct access to Entra ID or even to the Active Directory object, but it's a very sensitive account because it play a central part in running the services and have a direct access to the SQL database of the Entra Connect tool. The third account is the Microsoft Entra Connect account. And in the real environment, if you jump on after installing the Entra Connect tool, if you jump onto your Entra portal, you will find out an account that is named on-premises directory synchronization, which called also like the UPN of it is sync underscore and the domain controller, or the Entra Connect server that you're installing your Entra Connect tool in. And that account have a directory role in Entra called directory synchronization accounts. So we are seeing also service account because in the next slide, we will check how risky those accounts if they are not well protected and how we protect them using Microsoft Defender for Identity. One of the features that I would like also to speak about is the Entra Connect Seamless SSO that is currently available in Entra Connect, but soon it will be depreciated. And I can see a lot of clients that are living now with Windows 10 and Windows 11 only, and basically Windows 11 because Windows 10 is now out of support by Microsoft, and they are still activating that feature in Entra Connect, which is actually useless nowadays with Windows 10 and Windows 11 because Windows 10 and Windows 11 now use the SSO seamless using the primary refresh token in Entra, and they do not use this old feature in Entra Connect. And basically, when you enable that feature, you will notice in your domain controller OU a computer object called Azure AD SSO account, which got created. And let me tell you something here. If that account got hacked by an attacker, you will get a golden ticket for your Entra ID. Why? Because when you are implementing that feature, you will create a full handshake trust between that computer object in AD and Entra ID. So anyone have access to this computer object, he will be able to issue any token. Then he can play in your Entra ID environment as you want. So please, if you run Windows 10 and Windows 11, go and disable that feature. It's not being used, and Microsoft soon will depreciate that tool from Microsoft Entra Connect. So why it is important to protect the hybrid identities? So as we all know, that the identity infrastructure environment became more complex, right? And many organizations are not only using AD on premises as their identity provider, but they are using many more multi-clouds such as Okta, Ping Identity, Entra ID, and so on. So the goal with Microsoft Defender for Identity is to protect every identity everywhere. And as you can see in the slide here, that now MDI is covering ADFS, which is Active Directory Federation Service, the ADCS, which is the Active Directory Certificate Services, and the domain controller. And now we are covering the Entra Connect, which is one of the latest releases covered by Defender for Identity. And recently Microsoft introduced Okta, right? So it will also, if you are leveraging Okta for your SSO experience, now you can protect Okta identities or the identities that you are provisioning from your AD to Okta using MDI. So today, by providing a new sensor for Entra Connect from Defender for Identity, you are automatically expanding the coverage into your hybrid identity environment. And by giving the SOC analyst more visibility and protection for those complex environments, and for sure by reducing the attack surface gap between on-premises and the cloud. So just here to highlight some numbers from the security researchers based on the number of organizations that has faced like identity attacks. So basically, 60% of the organization in general have reported that they are experiencing at least one identity-based attack within the last year. And this only emphasizes that how much is important to protect all our identities all over the identity fabric, whether you are using Entra ID, AD, Okta, and so on. In addition, we have also 80% of hybrid identity attacks start with credential thief. And that will facilitate through, or actually this usually start by a phishing email or data breaches and so on. So to speak a little bit about the latest storms that Microsoft has identified in the last year, and I'm pretty sure that you heard about it, and Microsoft called Storm 501, and that attack usually targeted multiple sectors in the United States, especially the government and the manufacturing and the transportation. So Storm 501 was a financial motivated criminal group that used commodity and open source tools to conduct a ransomware operation. And this group was observed by Microsoft, and they tracked it by the Storm 501 attack. And they were able to launch a multi-stage attack where they compromised hybrid and cloud environments as well, and which lead to a lot of data exfiltration and credential thief, tampering, persistent backdoor, and a lot of ransom deployments. So to cover all those areas that we mentioned and how much important to protect your hybrid identity, once you deploy Microsoft Defender for Identity in Entra Connect and you install that sensor on the server, it will start catching all the suspicious interactive logon to Entra Connect. So any abnormal login directly to the Entra Connect server will be catched. And this detection will be only applicable if you are installing your Entra Connect server in a standalone server. And the best practices here, guys, is always, because I see a lot of clients installing Entra Connect directly on their domain controller, which is not correct, not as best practices. Go ahead and install your Entra Connect server tool on a standalone server and profit from this detection from MDI. The second detection from MDI is suspicious Entra Connect account authentication. So basically this detects any authentication originating from any server other than the Entra Connect server. So for example, you jump on to any client in your environment and you try using the ADTTS account, which is prefixed with MS_SQL to connect remotely to the Entra Connect server. Automatically MDI will detect that type of authentication and will generate an alert for you. Why? Because MDI has a feature that create a learning period for each user. So suppose that the MS_SQL user is always used within your Entra Connect server, and the learning period is telling this all the time. And suddenly MDI discovered that this account was used in a different client. Then MDI will compare that learning period with the new activity and trigger an alert saying, listen, this account has been used outside Entra Connect server. The next detection is about suspicious write back by Entra Connect on a sensitive user. And this, initially Entra Connect already prevent write back password for users that are part of the privileged group in Active Directory. But MDI is still expanding this protection by detecting any password reset attempt on privileged accounts. And later on my demo, I will show you when you reset a password from Entra that is sensitive in MDI, automatically MDI will trigger an alert notifying you about this, this behavior. The next detection is about user password reset by Entra Connect account. So actually this detection, it detects a non-legit password reset activation, and this only detect if you didn't enable, in Entra Connect you have the feature which is called password write back. Suppose that you didn't enable that feature, but still some users was trying to reset their password from Entra, assuming that it will be written back to AD, then MDI will catch that and will trigger a detection for it. So in addition to those detection, there is also a new activity for any failed password reset on a sensitive account. Sometimes the attacker try to run a brute force attack by trying to get the password using their hack tools, and a lot of their attempts it might be failed. So MDI will able to detect that, and also the MDI team is enhancing the accuracy of the desync attack tool detections, such as Mimekats, Impacted, and all those tools that are being used nowadays by the attacker to perform like a dump secret against your Active Directory. So you will see in the future also more accuracy detecting those new tools, especially the tool that the attacker are introducing in the future. And also there is a new health issue alert, and this is for the cases where the sensor of the Entra Connect is not able to retrieve the configuration from the Entra Connect service. So MDI will raise also a trigger informing you that we are not receiving any configuration from the Entra Connect service. And also recently, the MDI team has introduced what we call PowerShell remote execution detector, and it will extend the monitoring of MDI and will trigger alerts when it comes to someone running any remote execution to the Entra Connect server. Before I jump on to the recommendation, I want to run a second poll that to check with you guys, what is your current approach to securing on-premises Active Directory identities nowadays? Which product are you using? Are you using Defender for Identity? Are you using any third-party solution? Or you don't have any dedicated solution yet implemented in your environment?
Hey, Ellie, just to let you know, all the
Yep.
polls for some reason ran when we clicked the first one. So they've already answered those as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. So we check together all the detection that MDI now trigger when you have any type of those activities in your environment touching directly the Entra Connect server. But to be able to be proactive and to like to enhance the security posture of your identity that are dealing with Entra Connect, the MDI team has also released some recommendations that are available within the XDR portal under the exposure management. And later on in my demo, I will show you also how you can check those recommendations and how to check the status of them, if they are compliant in your environment or not, and how to remediate them. So the first one is to rotate the password for Entra Connect ADDS connector account. So basically, at my first slide, I mentioned the account that is prefixed with MS-SQL underscore. And I mentioned also that this account is cannot be a managed service account. Like AD cannot take care of the rotating the password of it, which means you need to handle that part. And since that account is very sensitive and have some privileges in an Active Directory because it's responsible of syncing the identities and syncing the password up and down. So we need in order to minimize the risk to change that password frequently. And Microsoft recommends to do that every 9 days. The second one is to remove the unnecessary replication permission from Entra Connect ADDS connector account. So basically that recommendation is applicable where you are not using password sync, right? And I will tell you in which scenarios this happened. So you were using password sync through Entra Connect tool, and suddenly you decided to go and start using the Connect Sync, Cloud Connect Sync tool, which is completely managing all your identity synchronization from the Azure portal through installing a lightweight agent in your Active Directory. And most of the clients forget that there is a user with a replication permission that were created before when you were using password synchronizations that still exist in your environment. And that's why this recommendation is applicable when you are not using password hash sync and you are using other method, whether through Entra Connect or through Cloud Sync. So it will tell you to go up and clean up those permissions from this user, or you can disable it or you can delete it if you are not using password hash sync in that case. Also, if by chance you still using the Entra Connect Seamless SSO, which is this computer object that got created when you activate the SSO feature from Entra Connect, also Microsoft recommend you to change that password of that computer object every 30 days. Why? Because it's a sensitive account that would give the attacker a golden ticket to Entra, so he can issue, he can replay, he can refresh any token already issued by Entra and Active Directory. Also, according to Microsoft Entra, according to the Entra best practices, enterprise admin and domain admins account can no longer be used as your ADDS connector account in order to improve security for sure. So this for sure will prevent to have any over-privileging connector account and to reduce the risk of a domain-wide compromise if the account get hacked. So users now must create or assign a lower privilege account specifically for directory synchronization to ensure better security and to apply the principle of the least privileges and to protect the critical admin accounts for sure. Also, there is a recommendation when you have an Entra Connect server in your environment, but is not covered by MDI, you have a recommendation that says, go ahead and install the sensor on the Entra Connect server and expand the coverage from MDI to Entra Connect. And this is the sample step to install that sensor that will help you detect suspicious activity in real time and to protect the integrity of your hybrid identity bridge and prevent a full domain compromise from a single point of failure. Last but not least, I would like to mention about the new Entra Connect tool version, which is actually now use the Microsoft Entra Connect account to authenticate and sync the identities from Active Directory to Entra. And in order to enhance the security, Microsoft has rolled out recently a new version of Entra Connect server, which used an application identity that got created in Entra. And in real, that will remove that identity that I showed you in the slide that start with a prefix sync in the Entra ID, and an application got registered in Entra ID instead, which is more secure when it comes to synchronizing identity to Entra ID. So allow me now to show you in real how really this works. So I'm here sitting under my Entra Connect server. I'm an attacker that has gained access to an Entra account that have privileges to perform some password reset in Entra, right? And if I open my XDR portal and I jump to the settings here, and I navigate to the identity of the settings, and I click on the sensitive under the entity tags, I will see that I have a user called Marshall that is tagged as a sensitive account, right? And if I go back to my Active Directory, right, click on my domain name, click on the properties, and jump onto the security, and search for that Marshall account, I can see that this account have some replication permission for my directory changes and also for replication for the synchronization. So in that case, that account can reset passwords in Entra. So what I will do is I will jump to my Entra Connect server, Entra Connect portal. I will go to the users. I will search for Marshall, and I will reset that password. So what I'm doing now, I'm resetting a password in Entra ID that is very sensitive for MDI. Okay, the password has been reset. The next step as an attacker, since that user has those permission to replicate, change it, and to synchronize identities, I will jump to a machine where I installed a DC Sync attack tool from Impacted. And for this attack tool to work, I need to install Python. So I installed Python, okay? And I installed also a script or a module called secret dump, which will allow me to dump all the secrets from Active Directory using that Marshall user that I reset his password, right? So let's do it together. So I will run a PowerShell script as an admin, and I will jump to the location where my DC Sync tool attack is installed. And in that case, I'm using Impacted. So Python, okay, sorry. And I will run a script, and I will explain the script. So in the script, I'm calling Python, and I'm calling inside that the secret dump package, and using the Marshall account that I reset from Entra, and using the password that I set in Entra, and targeting my IP address, the IP address of my PC. And once I run okay. Let me check. 1 second. Let me double check the password. So I was able to dump all my identities using that DC Sync attack tool. Now I can use all those secrets for any user, issue tickets in Entra, and do whatever I want with those users, since I have now the dump secret for each user. So what will happen? MDI automatically if I jump now to my incident portal, I will see that there is a incident that got triggered here. And that incident is called multi-stage incident involving privilege escalation. And if I go by alerts, first of all, I can see that MDI has detected the suspicious write back by Entra Connect for a service account. And actually, Marshall has replication permission to the following domain. Marshall was tagged as a sensitive account. The password change in Entra was done by the user that I already compromised, which is an admin account from my AD. So the next one is suspected DC sync attack. So Marshall made a replication request from that client, which is the IIS, from where I performed the DC sync attack. And I was able to dump all the secrets from my Active Directory environment. You will see another alerts. Those are related to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, because also my Active Directory is onboarded to Defender for Endpoint. And Defender for Endpoint will detect automatically that this tool is not safe and you should remove it. So he will trigger alert as well. You are familiar also with Copilot for Security. As you can see, once I open the incident, Copilot for Security automatically will launch for me an incident summary of all the steps that happened, how the attacker has moved in my environment, what the tool that has used, what he performed on my Active Directory, what he performed on the client where he ran the DC Sync tool. And also, he will create for me a triage where I can use as steps to investigate and remediate my incident. So the first one is I need to contact Marshall to check if he's the real user that has performed these activities. Also, I need to, also it gives me some threat intelligence article related to the attack that happened in my environment and how I can remediate my environment by giving me also resolvent and ways of resolving those type of incidents. So this is basically how an attacker performs the DC sync attack tool in Active Directory and how MDI catch those tries and alert you automatically and let you know what exactly happened. When it comes to recommendations, from your Microsoft Defender portal, you jump on under the exposure management and you click on the recommendation. And you know, the new experience of the recommendation is now divided by type of entities. So if you jump on under identities and you search for the word connect, you will find out that all the recommendations that I already showed you in the slides. And you will be able to see if this is completed, what are the points achieved. And if you click on one of the suggestions or the recommendation, it will contain an overview, the status, the remediation steps in case it's not completed, what are the exposed entity in case, and other relative initiatives and metrics, because, you know, exposure for identity or exposure management contains some initiative, and one of them is related purely to the identity security. So mainly that's will conclude the demo part, and now we will open for questions and feedbacks. Thank you.
Guys, I'm going to stop the recording now. So if any of you have Any questions for Elie? Please feel free to come off mute.